And welcome. It is Tuesday evening. Tuesday evening is my favorite time of the day because it is when we have the Tile Happy Hour. I don't know what your week is going or how it's going, but I hope that you are out there listening to all things about the tile and stone world. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Craig. I've been in the tile industry for over 20 years as a contractor. Now I have the pleasure of working with this young gentleman here, John Tedesco, who is older than I, but had been in the tile industry a little bit longer than I, but still looks great.
Thank you, Craig. Glad to be here. Welcome, everybody, to the Tile Happy Hour. This is John Tedesco. I'm here with my cohort and co-host, Craig Cahoon. Tile Happy Hour every Tuesday, 8 p.m. on all sorts of, on the interweb, be it Facebook maybe, or X, or Twitter, or LinkedIn, and YouTube, and Instagram. So we're glad that we're here, and we're on multiple channels. So wherever you're watching from, we'd love for you to chime in, say hello, let us know where you are watching from tonight.
Absolutely. Absolutely, John. You're right. We're on all of those, and we get different sorts of traffic from each one. And it's always fun to see the comments come in. It's always fun to see things happen live as they go. And so tonight is kind of what we do after hours. You know, normally the show happens live. We answer the questions live, but these things live.
It's those videos, my after hour videos.
No, we're not going to talk about your after hours videos. Right. It's a family show, John.
Got it.
And, you know, after hours, we go through your comments because this content lives on the internet, and I guess it'll be there forever. I was thinking about that the other day. 100 years ago, if somebody wanted to talk to 2 million people, how long did that take? And then once they spoke, maybe several different places, an arena, the back of a train, you see those pictures, it's gone. But this content that we're making, as long as the internet's going to be here, it's out there forever.
This is true. That's good news and bad news, you know, because it depends how the content is. But I'm super glad that my life, my adolescent life and young adulthood life was not chronicled on permanent recordings. So I'm happy that, you know, kind of lived both worlds, got through that. But now the younger generation, really, literally, it's a little weird. You make one mistake, you do something, you're applying, you go to law school and you get a job, and they'll pull up a video from when you were 13 years old. And like, oh, wait a minute.
That's right. That is scary. But look at the good one. And hey, red beards of the world unite. Good to see you. Glad to see you back. What's crazy is about that. How cool would it be for you and I to be able to watch our grandfathers or great grandfathers do their work? Oh, that would be interesting.
You know what? I never thought of that, really. You know, if we had a digital, I mean, all the generations now going forward have a digital record of all their relatives, I guess, if they're on any type of social media.
They'll never question cool. what I sounded like, which is you know, as Chaim says, you know, I'm the hey y'all guy. And, you know, maybe 5 or 10 generations from now, my ancestors may not have an accent like I do. And they like, look at my great grandfather. Here he is talking about tile. We don't even use tile anymore, even though tile's been around for centuries. I don't think it's going anywhere.
I think your accent's going to evolve. So I think like 4 generations from now it'll be gone. You'll be talking like me.
You think four generations?
Yeah, just 4 generations. Hey, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Right. I was looking back, you know, once again, technology reminds you of what you did St. Patrick's Day last year. Do you know what happened on St. Patrick's Day last year? Tara Lynn, good to see you. And that's not a live picture of you, but you look great also.
Well, last year on the show, didn't we do the show on St. Patrick's Day?
We did. Do you remember who our guest was?
Oh, that is great. I don't know.
You don't know? Our guest was the world famous or infamous Jeremy Solomon. It was our first episode about LVT.
Oh, wow. That was awesome. So that was Tile Happy Hour, and that was last year, St. Patrick's Day,
Yep.
2023.
St. Patrick's
That
Day.
is pretty cool. I didn't know that.
2023.
Hey, do you have a drink? Speaking of St. Patrick's Day.
I've got my go-to Leroy mug, Leroy Yeti, and a little bit of Southern tea in there today. How about you? Other than your, show me. You showed me a minute ago what was going on right off camera.
Internet is
that
wonky.
Still happening? Yeah, the internet is clipping a little bit on us. I don't know what's going on, but bear with us.
So, Craig, can you night? Yeah, we're working through some internet issues. I don't know if it's you or me.
I don't know either, but I'm gonna shut down Instagram. Sorry, all those over on Instagram, move over to YouTube. The Creative Edge, I see you there. Move over to YouTube. I'm gonna shut that down. Maybe that's what's sucking out all of the Google fiber that I have in my house. Redbeard also drops in. Can you imagine watching our ancestors nip and cut under a George jam for 3 hours? You know, today you get those little videos that are like 10 or 15 seconds long where you can cut
Craig.
out a. Yep.
I gotta go off screen just for a minute, all right? So don't go anywhere.
Okay. John, he didn't tell anybody, but he's cooking, and we were talking right before we came on air. We're hoping he doesn't burn down the house. I don't know if that's what's actually going on, or maybe he just had to go get a snack. But you've joined the Tile Happy Hour, and I'm not by myself. I am with John Tedesco, and in his spare time, not only is he a tile guru and knows all things about tile, I think he's cooking a meatloaf. And John, is the meatloaf ready? Did you set the fire alarm off? What's going on? Oh, he doesn't have his ears in yet. He can't hear us. John,
Alrighty.
did you set the fire alarm off, or
okay? So before the show, I told Craig I set my alarm for 7:57 to turn off my oven. I had on 400, cranking up some dinner, and I went over, and I didn't have my glasses on when I did it, and I just went over and pressed start again. I didn't press off, so I'm sitting here and I'm hearing like cooking noises, like crackling noises, and I'm like, it's got to stop. So I had to go up and hit stop. So I'm good. No smoke yet.
Okay, good. Nothing's on fire. That's good.
Not yet.
John, we were talking about before. I had to shut down the Instagram, so sorry about all those that were on Instagram. But we spend, I spend all my week reading problems, and our comments have increased over the last year, since last March, where we had our LBT episode. And so what we decided to do tonight is not only answer any questions that you got live from the audience, is to bring in some of those comments that were over the past few weeks.
And that's progress, because we've evolved because the show is now over a year, right?
Over a year old, yep.
And now we've evolved from death threats to like just mild disdain. So we're getting there.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the death threats are still there, but we do get some legitimate questions, and sometimes I know where they come from. Sometimes I don't. I get because my email is connected to this. We're lucky enough to work for a great company called Tile Bar, and if you search either one of us, you find Tile Bar information. So somehow my email address, and I get questions from viewers from this show on my company email. So I said, well, John, let's tonight. You had a couple of questions. I had a couple of questions.
Oh, okay.
And anybody out there, if you got some questions, if you're watching live, we'll do it right now. If you're not watching live, maybe you'll be on the next show.
I'm going to do a live beer pour.
The Miller Lite.
Yes. You know what? The Miller Lite's good. I mean, it's not,
It's
top
not
shelf.
great. It's not great.
No,
but,
it's just, Anyway, cheers, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day and happy
Cheers.
St. Joseph's Day. Today is St. Joseph's Day, and St. Joseph pastries are the most amazing thing. They're like a sfinge, and there's two sfinge. It's
I don't
kind of
even
like
know what that word is.
It's an Italian word for kind of like zeppoli. Have you heard of zeppolis?
I've heard of a zeppelin.
Oh man. Okay, fried. Have you heard of fried dough? You have that in South and
yeah, we call those donuts.
Hillbilly land.
Krispy
Okay, so picture an Italian donut is like a ball of dough, and they put it. They kind of fry it, and they put powdered sugar on it. So for St. Joseph's Day, it's a really popular holiday for the pastry. It's and one has cannoli cream and one has like kind of a little lighter cream to it. So
gotcha.
On St. Joseph's Day, a lot of people go out, especially here in New York. In the showroom today, they went to Brooklyn and they got some St. Joseph's pastries, and that's good.
Well, Redbeard's worried about you messing up your purse, so don't spill your beer on your purse.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's get to a question, and then I want to ask you to tell me what St. Joseph's Day is. But let's do a question first, because there's people here that want to hear about tile, not about our lives.
All right.
And I've clicked on the wrong button. So this tile, the Division 3D tile. So the question came in, how to clean and care for this tile for commercial backsplash. And they're wondering if they should seal it for stain resistance. So, John, explain to me what the Division series is.
So it's a ceramic tile that has a texture on it. It's glazed, right? So there's so technically no porosity. I know in your world, Craig, it's nothing's at 1,000%. But it's for the most intents and purposes, it is non-porous and nothing stains it. So why people ask about, I guess why this person asked about cleaning is because it has like a texture, it has like, ribs to the surface of it.
Yeah, a couple of things I'll add to that. It is a 3D tile, so it's got ribs and flutes in it, but it's also a matte glaze, which is, it can be concerning because sometimes a matte glaze, it's not that glossy hard shell, so it may not stain, but it could hold contaminants. I'll say it that way. Because of that matte surface, it's not easily wiped off.
Right.
So my answer to this would be, if you want to stain it, if you want to stain it, don't stain it. But if you want to seal it, go for it. You can. The sealer's not going to absorb tremendously well, but install the sealer per the instructions, and it may make it a little easier to clean. In a commercial situation, I'm thinking there's probably some prep going on. It could be oils and stuff like that. And it could definitely save your grout and stuff like that. But
what would you say would be different
series,
commercially or residential?
Not necessarily different, just the quantity, the sheer amount. We only cook for an hour a night or 2 hours a night in our kitchens at home, where commercial kitchen for as long as it's open, it's always running. So got they're staying there. That's my answer. I will say I love the Division series. It was one of the it came on about the same time I did, and so I have a little love relationship with it, and I think it's pretty cool. The flutes, and it's got pre-scored grout joints, so it's got some pretty unique characteristics.
The pre-scored grout joints are pretty interesting. Have you ever found anybody that says that maybe the grooves are not deep enough and the grout flakes out? I haven't seen that. Just wondering if you have.
About every 2 weeks I get that question.
But I've never had the complaint. I never had the issue actually happen.
won't. If it's grouted correctly, I even tested it because when we brought it on, I was concerned about it, frankly, because
Right.
the pre-scored grout joint is relatively shallow. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's a 16th of an inch, it's barely a 16th.
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't like make it a little deeper, but it works.
I was also, and I tried it. I even tried it with a sanded grout, and even though sanded grout it has a really large aggregate in it, it stuck and it stayed in there. So,
Right.
I will say, if done correctly, the pre-scored grout joints, even though they're small, it works, and it's just a cool looking. I actually got a sample board right off camera. It's a cool looking product.
We should pull it up on the website.
Yeah, I got that. Well, while I'm doing that, I'm gonna let you tell me about why you're number one, or you're at least wearing the number one T-shirt. What is that all about?
Oh, I thought it was just a given. Oh, number one. This this is just a T-shirt for a bar in the Bronx. It says Uptown.
Oh, a bar.
Uptown, and the Bronx Ale House. So it's just a great bar. It's the one train goes all the way from Van Cortlandt Park in Bronx down to South Ferry in Manhattan on the west side, and kind of the last stop all the way north is Riverdale, which is a really nice community, and Bronx. And there's a really good bar there. Great, just great food. Not a dive bar, but certainly not fancy. Just really good.
Gotcha.
So anyway, this is just a T-shirt, and
I thought it looked like something from the subway. That's
it is. This is the subway. So let me ask you a question: how far do you think it is from Bronx all the way down to the tip of Manhattan, South Ferry? Like, how long do you think that is?
It's probably 70
miles. It's 15 miles.
I'm really not even sure where the Bronx is. I think that's where our office is. No, our office is in Queens, right?
Well, okay. In Craig's defense, there is an Inwood section of the Bronx, and there's a town, a hamlet on Long Island called Inwood, spelled the same, completely different animals, completely different locations. But if you're on the news and you're hearing some crazy things going on in the news, and usually, it's usually Inwood, the Bronx. And
not Inwood where our place is.
Yeah, so if you hear Inwood, if you're on television and you're watching the news and there's something going on, it's often Inwood in the Bronx. So here is the
Division series. Yeah, and what's crazy is it looks like a 4x8.
But it's really 8x16, I think.
It's yes, it's 8x16. So
pretty
so you
cool.
can barely tell here if you see my cursor. You can't really see my cursor. The difference between the vertical joint and the horizontal joint.
Yeah.
One is scored, one is not. But
so here's a question for you, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a 4x8 tile. We agree, right? Each one of those.
Right.
Why make it a 4x8 why make it 8x16 instead of 4x8? I think we talked about this when it launched, and we talked about this tile.
I mean, I think it's just a design thing, I guess. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, I explain you.
You explain me.
So it's the cost. So to make an 8x16 tile in a ceramic tile is less costly than making a 4x8 tile, because it's just a little less handling, and in producing, also it's a little easier to install. Now you're installing 8x16 tile as opposed to 4x8 tile. So,
look at that guy though. That's the winner right there.
Wow.
So if you pull up the Division series, you can watch a video about 3D tiles that we made. All right, let's move on to the next question. Next question.
All right,
and this is something the next question is, I'm going to do the one that you brought in from your comments. Lisa asked, can I use a 24x24? And I typed that in wrong, for my bathroom floor. Not my banner floor, my bathroom floor.
So, yeah, this came in to me. I'm not sure where. I think LinkedIn. Lisa. So the short answer is yes.
Yes.
And the longer answer is yes. Basically, if you need 30 square feet of tile for your bathroom floor, no matter what size tile you put, from a penny round to a 24 by 24, you're still buying 30 square feet of tile. The only difference between a small tile and a big tile is how many grout joints you have. So aesthetically, so she may be asking, and I don't think she didn't elaborate. Was she? I guess she was concerned. Did she think there was is this an aesthetic question, or is this a technical question? So I'll answer.
Well, I'll answer it from an aesthetic point of view, because I know there's a couple of different things that people think about when installing a large tile in a small room or a small tile in a large room.
I'll let you speak to the installation. I'll speak to the design.
Sure.
I kind of feel that it's really, when you walk into a room, you're not noticing the size of the tile. You're just looking at, wow, that's a nice gray marbleized tile with a white vein, and it's polished. I like it. So aesthetically, I think you and I, Craig, see the size immediately. We'll immediately assess that tile, 24 by 24, porcelain, polished finish, rectified edge, made in Italy, we'll scan that in 2 seconds. But an average person using their home or wherever it may be is just going to say, hey, I like the way that looks. So you just want to place the tile. You kind of want to do a layout where the 24 by 24 tile maybe is centered in the room when you walk in. Or I would probably recommend I would definitely recommend putting a 24 by 24 on a diagonal. It gives the illusion that the tile is kind of continuing under the vanity and beyond. So I would say you have a heart-to-heart with your contractor, tile guy, saying where the layout is, and definitely can do 24 by 24. But if the tile was available on a 12 by 24 or a 12 by 12, which really doesn't exist anymore, so 12 by 24 is a likely size, then you could pick either one. Some people just despise grout and want the tile as big as possible. Some people want to brick a tile. I definitely don't want to brick a square tile, especially a big square tile in a small area. That looks bad. Yep. So if you want to brick like a brick pattern, then do a 12 by 24 rectangular tile. If you want to do a 24 by 24 because you want to have a very almost seamless or like a slab looking type of floor, do it. Put it on a diagonal, in my opinion, and kind of center that first tile. And that's going to segue to you, Craig, from an installation, because that's partly an installation answer, but there's more to it.
Yeah. As far as installation goes, layout, only thing I'll add to that is when we were talking with Nava, she is very particular about where to start, what the cuts look like. And when she designs a room, she said she designs it knowing where all the cuts are before they even order the tile, which is a great way to start a project. As far as an installation point of view, if installing a 24 by 24 is a little more tricky than installing a smaller tile, you've really got to up the notch size of your trowel, because you want to make sure that you're getting the appropriate coverage. But other than that, if you're competent enough and you feel good about a 24 by 24, do it. I'm not a designer, but technically there's nothing against putting this in a bathroom. Now, where we run into some issues is if you want to put it in a shower and drainage and trying to slope things to the drain, because a 24 by 24, it's got to lay flat. And if you've got a center drain, you're going to have to do like an envelope cut, or then you're putting in a linear drain where you're all sloping to one side. So those are the things you have to look at if you have a shower included. But if not, go for it.
I've been in the industry long enough, Craig, where I got the question when I was 20 years old selling tile. And the question was, oh, I don't want to use a big tile. That 13-inch tile could crack easy. I want to use the 8x8 or the 6x6 or the 4x4. Because literally, bathroom floors were mosaics or 4-inch by 4-inch, and they upgraded to 6x6. Kitchens were 8x8 tile. 8x8, not even porcelain, Bicatora, fire twice, red clay tiles. And then the big size was 12. And then 16 by 16 came out, and people would say, I heard that if you put a big tile, it cracks easier. And my answer then was, if you install it properly, it doesn't matter. It's just, yeah, a small tile may be like, if you're a complete novice, then the bigger, let me rephrase this. I was going to go, if you're a complete novice, the smaller the tile, the more likeliness, the more forgiving it is, because if it gets a little loose because you screwed it up, maybe it won't snap because it's small. If it's big,
That's right.
it may snap, but you shouldn't be in that situation. If you're not a professional or you can't handle it, then just hire a guy. But a tile guy can install any size tile. It's like ceiling. Oh, can I put a 24 by 24 on the ceiling? Yes. I've seen people put slabs on the ceiling of tile. You just need to know how to anchor it and how to bond it and support it. So yes, you can do a big tile on the floor. Aesthetically, I do like a larger size, but it's not for everybody. But usually you want to do that, Craig, when the tile you love only comes in that size.
Yeah.
And then you say, so you don't want to forego what you like because you're concerned about the size. Just get what you like, get a good installer, and just think about the layout a little and do it. That's what I would do.
Absolutely. Well, all right. So Lisa, I hope you find the right tile. If you I'm assuming if you got the question to us, you're looking on tilebar.com, where you can find as many tiles as you like. And one of the things that's cool about the company we work for and the website is you can get 5 samples for $5 shipped directly to your house, to where you can put them beside your paint colors, your cabinets, whatever you want to do. That is a great deal. And I've never ordered samples directly from the website, but from what I hear, they come quickly.
They do come quickly. So you definitely want to get a nice array of, it is amazing. The industry and Tile Bar really set this pace. You never shop from home for tile. It just wasn't, the case. But, you would go to a tile store and we have showrooms, right? And you see things in large displays, and then you order a sample swatch. And if you have a good website with really good imagery, and you can really get a feel for the style of the tile, you can see the range of the tile, you can see images that show you some up close kind of features of the tile, like the texture and the sheen. Then you need a sample swatch just to check the color. And you can very well do that. So this tile that you're bringing up here, is that
John? Do you remember? And since you had your own showroom, you may not remember this, but you may have done this to your contractors. Do you remember giving out sample boards and making sure that they had to bring them back and return them? Do you remember that?
Yeah, you'd lend something out, and they're like, I have to bring this to my customer, or even homeowners would want to take it home. And
just do exactly what we just talked about to match it with their curtains or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes you take a deposit and you could take it. And it really, and that's where Tile Bar shines. We have such a phenomenal sample program where you can order product. I have designers and architects that work with me that, have tile resources near their office. And they say to me, John, I have a tile store like on my block somewhere, wherever they are. I have a designer that works in New York and Florida, and she's like, when I'm in Florida, I have a tile store, 4 tile stores down the block from me. I still get samples quicker from Tile Bar in New York than I do, because the local guy's like, oh, let me go look for the sample. I don't have it. I'll send it to you. I'll get it. And they'll give them 2 out of 6 samples, and they order from Tile Bar. They're like, John, you get it here quicker than the person down the block from me. So then they stick with me. So this is a brand new tile.
That's why we order from Amazon.
Yeah, right. This is Monera Dolomite Warm. So don't let the name fool you. Dolomite is the name of a natural stone, but this is a faux stone, F-A-U-X. This is a porcelain. And what's cool about this tile is it's very on trend. And what I mean by that is it's kind of a natural look, not too busy, kind of organic looking, like really soft. And Craig, I'm trying to scroll on my mouse. It's not working because you're controlling it. That's right. So let's look at the sizes. So there's really, what's nice about this is there's multiple sizes. It's 12 by 24, which is kind of the new. Well, it's not new, but that's like the basic tile, right? If you're in the tile world,
that's right.
you make 12 by 24s, and now there's 24 by 24s.
24 by 24, yeah.
And 24
and then
by
up
48.
to 24 by 48, which is, you've seen that a ton nowadays.
Yeah, 24 by 48 is really beautiful.
You got different. Look at this.
Now
that's a person there.
Talk about image. So talk about how smart that is. You had that tile, that picture there. If that person wasn't there, you wouldn't even stop and look at that, and you wouldn't even read. You wouldn't even understand 48 by 48. Like, okay.
No, you would really look at the 24 by 24 and say, what's the difference? Well, the difference is this is the size of this lady standing here. I don't know who that lady is, but she's in a lot of our pictures. But that's a huge tile. And let me tell you, as a homeowner, if don't install this by yourself, if you don't know what you're doing, that is very difficult. That is very heavy. That is we call that a team lift. You're going to need a couple of people to help you.
And it's not like I think I mentioned the word before, forgiving. It's not forgiving if you're cutting first place. If you don't know what you're doing, how the hell are you going to cut that, right? So, and then when you break one tile, like say you're cutting a tile, right?
That's a meal. You've just thrown away.
That's 16 square feet.
A dinner for four.
That's 16 square feet of tile. So you really don't want to play with those big sizes unless you have a tile contractor who's versed in using, large tiles. And if you do it yourself, you do the 12 by 24s for sure. Now, what's also cool, if you notice, there's different finishes. Some of the sizes come in multiple finishes. I'm not convinced all of them. Now, click on to, I want to see some of the mosaics, because there's other features of this tile. There's a 3x3, and there's also I feel like there's something else besides a 3x3.
Well, that's that weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
So kind of like,
I don't know.
They call it foliage. Yeah. So it's kind of, I think a leaf pattern is a good description of that.
I just made that up.
That is. Yeah. Well, it says foliage. So
it's cool.
And then a 3x3.
I didn't read that. I don't know what foliage means. We don't use those big words down here.
Yeah. And then, look at that.
Look at that. How it shows you what it looks like.
That's
it's
cool.
We got that doesn't just herringbone or a chevron. A chevron.
That's a chevron. But that's the different material. That's a custom also viewed picture. That's a real. That's a porcelain, but it's a different series. There's a 3x3, I think, square. Gotcha. Click on the little square. Let's see.
Yeah, right here.
I think so.
Yeah, which is pretty.
Yeah, so that's kind of a standard shower floor. Most shower floors are 2 inch by 2 inch, but 3 inch, same thing, really, same category. Love it. What do you think of this line?
Yeah. It looks nice, and you said it's on trend now, but it still looks pretty traditional.
Yeah, it could be what you want it to be. You can make it a little more.
I mean, it looks. I say classic.
Classic is good, and it's not.
All right, so here's another question that I have, and John, you know the series a lot more than I do. I deal with technical. I deal with the underside of the tile. You deal with the top of the tile. So, here's the question that came in. Would you have any reservations using color play inflex or frame in a shower application? I'm not sure exactly what they meant, or frame in.
Okay.
I wasn't sure with the texture.
So there's no reason why you can't use this in a shower. The only thing you need to think about is if you're putting the 3-dimensional tile, the textured tile, where the fixtures are, the handles, and there's the scutcheons that need to sit flush on something.
Yep.
That could get a little tricky. And I know you have
we did a whole training on that.
On that. Yeah. So, do you want to go take a look at it on the website?
Let's see, the color play inflex. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, you really have to see it to understand it.
understand.
While you're looking it up, so you're going to
Okay,
ask
I remember seeing it, but I didn't remember what it was. Okay, so yeah. So, well, what was the question?
Well,
Influx?
the good thing here is there's a plain version of these tiles, so you can use the
Yes.
plain version either on the whole feature on the whole wet wall, or do like a little frame and use the flat tile directly behind the with the handle
Whatever you have, yeah. And that is one of my suggestions when I talk about that is if there's a flat tile available, that is normally your best option for this solution.
Yeah.
Now you can do some other tricky things that can give you a solution, but if you can get a flat tile that has the same color and work that into your design, and just as Nava taught us the other day, is think about that ahead of time, plan it out so that when you install it, it doesn't look odd.
Right. There's an upscale way of addressing it.
Okay.
Slab of marble.
Yes, I've seen that done a lot. And I know this because I'm in the contracting industry, but you may not recognize it. But a lot of times when you go to a hotel room that has upgraded their plumbing fixtures, they'll cut out the shower wall and inset a piece of stone in there so they can change out the plumbing behind it, but for whatever reason. And you think that was done originally because it's a design feature, but really it was done because they needed to change the plumbing or upgrade the plumbing or whatever.
I haven't seen that in a hotel. Well, I go to Motel 7. You're at Motel 6 still. And the 6 retrofit. But 7, they do the whole bathroom over. So.
Well, most of the ones I go in, it's a fire-burning aluminum bath. But every now and then I'll upgrade to a shower.
All right.
But yeah, you'll see that often.
Well, you know what? Most tiles that are three-dimensional like this, I wouldn't say most, but I wouldn't be surprised if the three-dimensional tile you pick does not have a plain flat tile option. And that's where you got to figure out what you got to do. So talk to your tile professional.
I think it's a toss-up. I think there's like half that do and half that don't. And, and those are things you need to think about as you're doing your design. You don't want to think about them the last day of the job and the plumber's coming tomorrow.
Yeah, and color play is nice. It reminds me of Coldplay, the band, and which is, if anyone has the chance to see Coldplay in concert, you must. It's an awesome show.
Okay.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. But they're still waiting for them to come back. They're in Europe now. Maybe they'll be back in 2025.
Yeah. But yeah, color play. I remember it now. The inflex threw me off. But
inflex
so John,
is that very curved that swoopy tile,
the very swoopy one. John, you had one come across your desk about LVT, and I've heard this before. Tell me what's going on.
Righty. So let me tell people let me say what LVT is: luxury vinyl tile. So Tile Bar started off as a glass tile company, and we morphed into porcelains very seamlessly. But some years ago, we entered the vinyl business, and LVT, sometimes known as LVP, luxury vinyl planks, luxury vinyl tile, is a really, really cool product that's used on floors. And if you go to a hotel now, very rarely do you see carpet. You'll see in the rooms, you'll see LVT on the floor. You go to a high-end restaurant, it may have a wood-looking LVT tile on the floor. If not porcelain would probably be ideal. For durability and all that stuff, and long term. But the acoustics, sometimes people want LVT for the acoustics, or they don't want to put a floor that when you want to change it in 8 years, you don't have to jackhammer it. So there's reasons to do LVT. So the question is, can you use LVT on a wall? So here's a tricky question. Here's a tricky answer. I mean, any tile, ceramic tile or porcelain, if you could put it on the floor, you definitely could put it on a wall, because usually people are asking about durability, right? When someone says, hey, can I use this tile on a floor? You have to stop and you have to say, is this tile strong enough for the floor, right? Will it scratch? Will it chip? But the answer always with a porcelain or a ceramic is, if you can use it on the floor, like if you've established that you can use it on the floor, right, Craig? You can put it on a wall. LVT, the only reason you may not want to is the fire rating. In commercial applications, I know that's a thing. Like they don't, not that LVT is like self-combusts, but it's just not designed, and there's no specifications that even address the fact, can you put it on the wall?
Right.
So for fire rating purposes, commercially, no. Residentially, I would say I don't know for a fact. It's probably a no, only because it's an unknown. But if you put LVT on a wall, it's not going to fall off. It's going to perform until there's fire, I guess. And then, so the answer is no. Don't put LVT on the walls because there's some technical reasons for that you can't. It's not that it won't, not going to fall off the wall, but
it may, because you got. I was thinking, some of the glues are not suitable. Some of the glues, depending on what time you get, are pressure sensitive.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
So you would have
gravity's on this side, right? When you're on the floor.
You would have to use a different adhesive. And I mean, there's adhesives out there. You can find an adhesive to stick anything. So that's going to be, you can figure it out, but just don't think that you can use your roll-on pressure-sensitive adhesive and stick it to the wall and it's going to stick.
You know what, Craig? I didn't think of that at all. But so anyway, the answer is no. Don't use LVT, because then you got to call Craig and I, and we got to sit there and say, I don't know. I don't think you can use this.
Just tile the wall or buy some wallpaper.
Yeah, exactly. So no LVT on the walls.
No
LVT is the fastest growing segment in the flooring industry, taking up a lot of the pie of it's taking up a lot of carpet, it's taking up a lot of wood, and it's taking up pieces of the tile porcelain world. So
I'm sitting on LVT right now.
Yeah, it really it's a great product. Tile Bar is really unique in this, because we approached it coming into the market where there's monster factories, monster companies, big brands that are in the industry. Yeah. And it's kind of like we were, the car company coming in, and what was the car company that went out of business with the doors that go up? The DeLorean.
The DeLorean.
Right? So, we were like DeLorean coming in, trying to like infiltrate the LVT business. But in our case, there was no drugs and, no drugs and conspiracies and all that going on. But what I'm saying is we were a little guy coming in, but we now design our own products, have it manufactured, in many cases at the same exact factories the big guys are having things manufactured. So, so there's a lot of similarities. But what we've done is we've cut out the distribution channel. There's no multiple channels. There's no middleman. So we can compete on large jobs. And we can also, Craig, we're kind of flexible. If you want a 28 mil wear layer, or you want a 20 mil wear layer, or you want a 12 mil wear layer, or you want a 6 mil, we can do it. Do you want different colors? You want different films, UV protections? So we're a little more nimble in that regard, and we've been doing really well. And so 1 year ago, so an ode to Jeremy Solomon, our EVP of LVT, the guy with the coolest title in the company, and 1 year ago today, he was on our he was on the show
telling us all about it. And
that was cool.
So I'm thankful for that segment, even though it's taken away the tile a little bit, but there's still a place for both. There's room. And so I love that. All right, on to the next question. This may be the last one. We're running out of time. So I'll get your opinion, because you don't get these questions every day, or you may. Recommended grout joint sizes, which is my favorite. So the first one is Infinity Sky 24 by 24. What would you say the recommended grout joint for that would be?
I'm trying to remember what Infinity Sky looks like, but it doesn't really matter. If it's a 24 by 48, it's a porcelain.
That's right. 24 by 48. I said it wrong.
Right. 24 by 48, it's a porcelain. I mean, the industry, I understand the industry default is 1/8 of an inch grout joint. And I know you and I may not be on the same page on that. And most people want it smaller than that. They want 1/16 of an inch. Yep. So Nero Marquino Chevron. Well, a Nero Marquino Chevron hone.
Let's stick with the first one first.
Okay.
So it's a 3-part question. We're going to go with A.
3-part question. 24 by 48 about 1/8 of an inch or less, then you got to like have a real beer, not the water. I get it. This is just my water tonight. You have to have a beer with your contractor and see how close can you get this, because he has to be on board with this. He can't just dictate it.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I say 24, and see, I'm very conservative because I'm a contractor. I want the installation to look great no matter what. And 24 by 48, I would say 3/16.
Okay.
And just because I know it's a very large tile,
yeah,
odds are it's going to have some pretty significant bowing, just because that's what happens. And I tell the team all the time, and you probably can repeat after me. For you to have a really tight grout joint, you got to have a flat and square tile, a flat substrate, and a competent contractor. And odds are the people that are asking what the grout joint are missing one or two of those.
This is true. So Craig, I'm getting a low battery thing. Something's going on with my connection. So give me a second while you answer the rest of the questions.
Having all sorts of technical difficulties tonight. But so those are the things that I think about when I'm thinking about grout joints. I'm thinking about, all right, how large is the tile? Because we all know that tiles are not flat. Now, you may think a stone tile. If you have a stone tile, it's going to be flat. But if you've got a ceramic tile, it's going to have a bow in it of some sort. And there's standards for that. So there's no way around that. And the larger the tile, the larger the bow's going to be. And the way you decrease the look of the bow and the lippage and all that other things that come along with a large tile is you increase the grout joint. That's one of the things. The pattern is another thing. And those are the things you can do to alleviate the grout joint and try to get it down to a workable size. I always say, and John, I think will agree with me here, do a mock-up with the size you want. Make sure the owner's looking at it, whoever's paying the bill, and that is your first step. And if you can, and I would start big and then go smaller. If you can go smaller, by all means, and make it look good, do it. But I'm going to give you a conservative answer.
And that's your installer needs to be on board with that. You can't the how many installers are on a job, particularly a residential job, and one of the homeowners comes in and is like, I want this, and they're like rolling their eyes like, okay, we know you want no joint, but it's a handmade tile, and and you want a 1/16 of an inch grout joint, and but you need to have some tough love there, because if you that extra 1/16 of an inch, right? What did I say? 2/16 of an inch grout joint, right? 1/8, right? 1/8. So I essentially said 2/16. Craig said 3/16. So what Craig is saying that 1/16 extra is giving the guy a little more leeway to get all four corners to meet up. And if it's bowed, so in the end, when you grout it, it gives a really nice look. So people that insisting on a small grout joint have to be careful what they wish for, because then you have lippage issues potentially, or shadows.
And you've heard me say it before: a larger grout joint done correctly looks a whole lot better than a really small grout joint done poorly.
Yeah, I guess what they just got to be careful about is if you don't show an interest to your installer that you really want it as small as he can do it, then he may be like, let me squeeze another 1/16 of an inch, because it is a little harder. The closer you put the grout joint, the more work and the more skill that's required. And if you get a guy that cares, he's going to do the right thing. But some guys may, you may get somebody who doesn't care, and he's like, oh, customer wants to do a 1/4 inch grout joint. Sure, let's roll with it, And
or just not even ask the question. And I mean, I've seen that where, the tile comes in, the contractor picks it up, and they install it before the owner gets home, and they just picked a really large grout joint, and it looks terrible, and they hate it. I'm like, well, you didn't tell me. Well, so there's got to be you're right. There's got to be due diligence on both sides, and good conversation and good faith on both sides.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
All right. I would say the exact same thing about the 12 by 24. So let's go to the 3 by 12, the Nero Machina Chevron honed, which is a stone.
So my answer is going to be different on this.
Yeah, me too.
But the answer is going to be whatever the hell it is on the sheet, because if you have a 3x12 chevron, 90% of the time that's pre-made, cut on a
Okay.
sheet, and the grout joint's predetermined. So hopefully we ordered it with the proper grout joint.
Yeah. Well, let's say it's not. If let's say it's a 3x12 stone, what would your suggestion be?
If it was a 3x12 stone, stacking it or bricking it, I would, you can put it like a 16th of an inch joint. If it's a quality stone and it's cut properly, you could put pretty narrow grout joint. I'm just concerned about the chevron because there's a point involved, right? And you have I mean, I would never, you couldn't pay me enough to take a tile and cut it and make a chevron and install it. It's not going to work.
But if I agree with you, if it's pre-cut and it's dead nuts, I don't know if I can say that.
You just did.
If it's on, I mean, if you got an uber flat substrate and a really competent installer, I mean, you could get less than a 16th, but
right.
A 16th of an inch is great. But you're right. If it is pre-mounted in a mosaic, the rule is you go with whatever it's mounted at.
And also because it's a stone, and if the factory was able to put it on a sheet with a very tight space, you won't have lippage issues because it's a gauge product. It's cut, it's cut in a really good way, and it's mounted properly. So, because the issues that we talked about were because you were installing it piece by piece. But now if you're putting a sheet up, you're kind of eliminating that avenue where you're not going to have the right, layout. So if it comes that way, I mean, there are mosaics that come occasionally where there's like, it's problematic, right? The grout joint is.
I would say the biggest issue I've seen with a really well mounted mosaic is an installer that is probably maybe trying to use too much mortar behind it, and then you can get some waves in it because, but once again, that comes down to competency, because if it's mounted correctly and you're using the right amount of thin set and your wall is flat, that should be a dead flat wall when you're done.
So if you're putting a chevron, I'm curious, a chevron tile on a wall, mosaic stone, would the trowel size be 1/4 by 1/4 square notch, or do you need a 1/4 by 3/8?
1/4 by 1/4 would be probably the largest I would do it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I would almost want to drop down to a like a 3/16 V notch, maybe.
Okay.
And once again, as a tile setter, it's your job to check that. Try it, put it on there, pull it off, make sure you've got good coverage, make sure you're using a beading block. That's where people forget, is they'll just put it on there and they don't use the beading block, and then that's when you get the waves.
Right. Now, Craig, what is it about the fact that it's on the wall that, based on what you just said, would require a little less thin set?
Not necessarily a little less thin set, it's the size of the tile.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's some people get, I've seen installers that get stuck. They want to use a 1/4 by 3/8 for everything. Well,
right.
It doesn't work. You're using the middle of the road trowel to stretch out over all sizes, and that doesn't work. You've got to increase your trowel size when the tile size, and decrease in turn.
What about those trowels that the interchangeable blades? Are those any good?
Yeah, I actually have one that I use here when I'm doing samples here, because I do use so many different ones. It's really handy. So those are good. I don't think we carry them, but Marshalltown carries them, and I know Ruby has some. So those are cool. And if you do a good job of cleaning up your tools, they'll last you a long time.
Yeah, you have
a little carrying case.
You got to come in a little case, right? And I guess you could then, quote unquote, afford a nicer handle because you're using that one handle for everything. So you get a nice handle. Do they have left-handed and right-handed trowels?
Only upside down and right side up trowels. That's
okay.
I've never seen a left-handed trowel. They leave us left-handed people out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but those kits are pretty cool. and you
They are
slide them
cool.
in, right? And so did you ever see the biggest trial I've seen was by Mapei. Mapei sold some tools. I don't know if they still do. And I used to be a Mapei distributor, and they had a medium bed mortar, I think it was called at the time. And it was a circle. The notch was a half a circle, and it was like a half inch by half inch, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Have you seen
3/4 by 3/4 is the largest I've seen.
Wow, 3/4. Is it called circle or?
It's called round notch, round notch trowel and square notch trowel, and it's really just that. That just comes down to preference. We have actually our 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch that we sell is a round notch.
It is.
For the only reason was I actually prefer the square notch. I think the ridges collapse better, but it's a matter of preference. You know, they've got the Z notch and the European notch. I mean, they've got all sorts of things now that people are trying to.
I'm trying to think of the science.
Improve.
If you have a square notch and you want to collapse it, I guess because it's pushing down on it's more surface area more thin set being hit when you're pushing it down, and it pushes it out. Where the circle is just hitting the top and.
If you're doing it the right way, you're putting it in and you're pushing it perpendicular to the ridges. So that actually causes that square ridge to fall over, and it fills in the valley.
Got it.
In just me thinking through it in my simpleness, the oval notch or the round notch doesn't have that collapse. It's like it just is mush. I don't know.
Yeah,
and I don't know there's any logic behind it, but
yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to test that. We'll do Bill Nye's Science Guy. We'll get him on. Right. Check it out. That's
right. I've got clear tiles. We can test it. So maybe we'll do that for a thing. But John, we've run out of time.
Yeah. So wow, it's been a great show. Great talking to you, Craig. Great everyone for chiming in. We're glad that you're there and watching the Tile Happy Hour every Tuesday at 8:00 on multiple channels. And sometimes you'll join us like on Instagram, and we'll just shut you down like we did tonight. Just keeping you on your toes. And we're trying to get our bandwidth up. We do have something really cool coming up, which is our coverings, our industry trade show. Content to Clicks is the title, Digital Marketing Today. So we have 2 special guests that are going to be on our panel, I guess, and 4 of us are going to be at the podcast studio live at Coverings in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're coming to the show, definitely check us out. The date is on the 23rd.
It's Tuesday the 23rd at high noon. I think we're the first ones in the podcast booth on that Tuesday, and we're going to jump in and have a great conversation. We look forward to seeing everybody who's going to be in Atlanta this year. Come by and hang out with us for the podcast. Live studio audience is always fun. We've done that a couple of times in a couple of different locations, and we're excited about Atlanta this year.
Yeah, and make sure you don't come the 23rd in a few days.
It's April the 23rd.
Yeah, April 23rd, noon at the podcast studio, which is out in, I think, one of the halls, Hall B, maybe the Pavilion or something. I'm not sure where it's at. So yeah, we have our podcast studio, we have our guests, and we'd love for you guys to come and check it out. We're going for the first time. Going to be able to broadcast it live if all the tech works out fine.
That's
and all the
right.
Connections
we're struggling with the tech tonight in our studios, but we hope that it works out so we can have our online audience as well as the live studio audience. So
this is true.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's really going to be fun. So, hey, folks, it is Tuesday. It is the Tile Happy Hour, roughly from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Tuesday night. Craig Cahoon, myself, John Tedisco. We love talking about tile. We love talking about grout and trowels and all the stuff in between, and LVT once in a while, and glass. So we're here for you. Keep those messages coming. Keep those likes coming. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're watching this and it's not live, but it's on our Encore rebroadcast, still let us know where you're at. Yeah, we'd love to know. So my name is John Tedisco, Tile Happy Hour, and I'd like to wish everybody peace, health, and happiness.
And I'm Craig, and we're signing off for the Tile Happy Hour tonight. And as always, keep learning together, and let's tile the world.